Hello, 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 and welcome back to Moving Mountains for You. This is your host, Ice Left Celadon, aka Sachi Ice Queen. I am known in the professional world as a realtor and a publisher, and in the podcasting space and artistry space because I am a poet. Sachi Ice Queen is my stage name. Today we have a special guest. He is someone that has been on our podcast before. And so if you hear a familiar voice, it's because he has been on there before. And we did an amazing episode about autism. So definitely check it out. We'll leave his information in the description. And so because it's Memorial Day, we wanted to definitely do a special episode because this time around, there's a lot of veterans, and not only just veterans, but a lot of families that they do want to remember their loved ones that served. And so I definitely want to extend my condolences to anybody that was personally affected by someone because of the war, any war, whether that be here, over there, wherever, even if you're going through a mental war, even if you enlisted because you were going through a abuse type situation in your own home and you saw that as a way to get out. And so without further ado, this is the Monarch of Fire. Super, super excited and really excited for you guys to hear what he has to say. So go ahead and reintroduce yourself to our audience and we'll get started.
Thank you, Isleth. I am the Monarch for short. I am actually a 10-year veteran of firefighting and paramedic work. I've also got some time in law enforcement. I am also a full-time mechanic, so I took on the automotive and public service industry, as well as investments in other platforms, as well as other businesses.
Yeah, for sure. I think being a mechanic is something I'd never do because I don't know anything about cars. But it's definitely something that everyone needs. So I think a lot of people nowadays, they definitely always need someone like you. So our first question is, what do you do to cope with anxiety caused by past trauma?
Well, it's a bit of a gray area question. The way that I deal with past trauma is going to be different to the next person. I personally find outlets that try to not stimulate that past trauma. So I try to do different activities that wouldn't relate to it. That's about the easiest way that I can put it.
Yeah, that's, definitely very true. Everyone deals with their trauma in a different way. Everyone receives and lets go of trauma in a different way. So that's definitely important for you to find however you can release that to definitely do it because it's something that if you don't deal with your trauma, it can definitely be a stepping stone in whatever career that you're in. So our second question was, who in your life helped you understand what to do in your line of service?
You see, that was the thing. I never really had someone in my life to guide me. I had to figure a lot of it out on my own, and I made new family because of it. Um, I do want to give a shout out to one of my prior fire departments. I spent 6 long years with them, and that is the Waynesville Rural Fire Protection District out of Waynesville, Missouri. We uh we were what was known as a training fire department. So since we were located right next to Fort Leonard Wood, we helped train all of the 12 mics, or for short, military firefighters. they had to have so many hours of civilian firefighting in order to progress in their training in our nation's military. And that's who really gave me my big start.
That's awesome. I think if you're not given the opportunity to learn something, then how are you going to learn it? So, for them to be able to extend that invitation to you was something that is always very useful. Um, if I remember correctly, I remember you saying you were seventh generation fireman. Is that true?
It's sixth, but yes.
Oh, sixth. So your father or your grandfather didn't teach you that specific thing.
Sadly, the grandfather on the side that I'm referring to was he was shot in the line of duty because he was also a state patrol highway state patrol officer for the state of North Carolina at the time, and he was shot in cold blood in the line of duty.
That's unfortunate.
So uh, he was not there to raise my father, whereas my great uncle was who raised my dad. And so I had to figure out everything, and then God bestowed it on me that I'm a sixth generation firefighter. It goes six generations back.
So is that something that you want to carry on to your children?
Of course, but that's only if they pursued a vision of themselves doing it. I would never force them to do it, but it's something I would deeply encourage.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think when you have a legacy like that, it's definitely something that you always want to continue, even if it's not full time or, even if they did it part time, at least they would still be extending that legacy that your father and grandfather and great grandfathers did. So that's amazing, and not everyone's family, not every family has someone in their immediate home that does some type of public service. And so that's definitely very I commend your family for definitely not only sharing their, you know, people in their life, but putting themselves at risk when they didn't have to. And so that's something that is very, very brave for them to do. So the next question, what made you want to be in public service as a firefighter?
Well, my ASVABs were through the roof because I wanted to always be a Marine. But due to having autism, it's very frowned upon by the government and the military. And so I watched my father growing up and watched how much he loved what he did and the amount of thankfulness that he was given for just doing his job. I never did it for the thankfulness or the respect. I did it because if I didn't do it, who else would? Not very many people take an interest in the fire science or medical field. And so our numbers are just really thin. And so, if you don't take that responsibility on, there's no saying who will. And so you know that God's given you the determination and the strength to do it. You might as well do what you're good at. And I mean, I made a small career stunt out of it, and I wouldn't change any of it. I don't regret any of it. No remorsefulness, no nothing.
Well, that's good. I think it's very important when someone sees the needs and wants to fill it. When it comes to public service, whatever type of public service it is, it's definitely a need in the community that needs to be filled. And I think that's why there's so many volunteer, you know, firemen, and because again, nobody necessarily wants to risk their life, and they don't have the people around them encouraging them to do so. So you were fortunate enough to be able to see it in your immediate family. So that's good. And definitely, uh, if you took one thing away from being a firefighter, what would you say that would be?
There's a lot of there's a lot of things that you could take away from it. I mean, we're talking about over half the job itself. I I would take out the politics out of it because there is always a lot of politics that surrounds service members within the communities, and a lot of the media want to focus on those problems rather than the actual problem at hand. Like just 3 days ago in the state of South Carolina, there was a major vehicular accident, and the life of one bus driver and two young children were taken because of impairment due to the truck driver. The truck driver slammed its brakes, and a school bus full of kids hit it. You know, that's something I wish that I could prevent, would be, find more alternative ways to stretch public safety to others and especially to drivers. On average, just in the state of Arkansas alone, there are almost 10,000 people who die a year due to drunk driver accidents, impaired while driving, DUIs, DWIs. It should never even be one. That's one thing I wish that I could really change, is how public safety is taught, and is there any other ways that it can be more effective on the communities?
I think it's comes down to talking about it. Like if nobody talks about it, then nobody's gonna think to even not do it. Um, I remember in high school they did a play of, when it was prom time, because right now is prom and graduation season. So, shout out to everyone that's graduating. Congratulations, and be safe this summer. But I remember specifically there was the drama team, they did a little skit for everyone, and they did include someone that was under the influence. And so it kind of just opens your eyes when you, even if it's fake, but you see it in front of you, you see what potentially could happen. So I think it's very important for every school to have those types of programs and those types of events that are mandatory, because they could potentially save their students. And so I think that's definitely something that needs to be addressed more. So since it is Memorial Day weekend, we wanted to definitely, talk about something that in most all of the families, this topic is always very touchy and it's very important to talk about. You mentioned the Marines. My brother is a Marine, and so are his two sons. So definitely wanted to shout them out. And I wanted to definitely, anybody that was, went to whatever war that they were a part of, and maybe they're home now and they're suffering from depression or anxiety or whatever mental illness that it may be, definitely wanted to give out some generic information. This is just if you're a veteran and you're in crisis, this is the lifeline. I always like to, and my viewers and audience know that I always give out numbers because if nobody gives these numbers out, then you're not going to know them. So if you have a phone and you can text, if you text the number 838255, you will reach a Veterans Crisis Lifeline number, or you can call 988 and then press the number 1. So wanted to definitely give out that information before our last question. So, for a family that is struggling with PTSD, what would you tell them, or what type of advice would you give them to move past that?
Definitely seeking out help is a good way to start talking about it amongst friends and family that you can trust. Um, I do want to give another shout out to a tremendous organization that is always there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and that's called 22 a Day. 22 a Day was founded several years back. Um, the man that started this was a veteran in Afghanistan himself. And it is the reason why they came up with the name 22 a Day is because that is the actual number of veterans who are currently taking their lives every day. We are losing 22 veterans a day. And like I said, they have a crisis hotline where you can call them and talk to them. Um, they don't care how long you want to sit on the phone and talk with them. They're there to help. They have actual therapists within their organization. They have so many great resources, and it's not just for military vets, it's for any vet of any kind. So law enforcement, paramedics, firefighters, any kind of servicemen and women. um, I would highly encourage that they try to start seeking help. um, I have a lot of family members myself that suffer with PTSD just as I do. Um, Having that outlet to talk to somebody has always been a tremendous thing. It doesn't always fix everything, but it would be the best option, especially if you're fighting this fight by yourself. Just know that there are people out there who are ready to listen and that care.
I think that's really important because a lot of people, they feel lonely when they're in pain. They feel lonely and they feel like no one can understand their pain. No one can, heal their pain. And so even if it's just you calling them, even if it's just you saying, I'm thinking about you, I'm praying for you, it goes a long way for people that are in that, dark place. And so, I definitely want to, extend my prayers to those people, because if no one's praying for those people, just know that I am. I pray for my viewers, I pray for my audience, I pray for, the people that God has aligned me with. And so definitely wanted to say, if you're listening, if you're watching, I'm praying for you, because I do pray. I may not know you, but God knows you, and He knows that He can provide the necessary help if you take action to ask for it. So, any last words or any last shout outs that you want to give out?
I'm going to end my part of the conversation with a Bible verse that has a little bit more meaning behind, like just about how Memorial Day is. So we're going to go to John 15. It'll be John 15, verse 13. Greater love hath no man than this, but that a man laid down his life for his friends. And I really think that has a lot to do with what we're celebrating today, about a man laying down his life for the ones that he loves. And that's where I give a lot of credit to, especially our military, our police officers, our active duty firemen and paramedics. Speaking from experience, I know what it's like to be put in that dangerous situation. Are you going to come out of this house fire? Are you going to be shot? Are you going to be stabbed? Are you going to lose your life? It's all a matter of perspective. You have to have that fight to keep pushing and keep going. And that's what motivated me so much, was I let God do my bidding.
Yeah, that's powerful. I think when you, leave everything, there's like that saying, if you leave everything in God's hand, you'll see His hand in everything you do. So, if you choose to do that, I think that's a very, very necessary step that is always needed. Not everyone does it, but it's definitely a blessing whenever you do. So, yeah, I just wanted to have this amazing episode with you. And for anybody that's barbecuing and eating amazing food, enjoy this day. Remember to walk in freedom. Everyone that I've met that is a veteran, they always say the same thing, and they always never want to limit our freedom. And ultimately, they do it for the people that they love, but they also do it because they love freedom, because they love the fact that we live in the United States where we are free to do things. Of course, there's repercussions and, consequences of whatever decisions we may do, but at least we do have that freedom. And so definitely want to encourage everyone out there to enjoy your freedom, enjoy your family, and just always remember that that freedom that you have you have it because somebody sacrificed something for it. And so take care. God bless. Peace be with you, and stay tuned for our next episode. We're going to have a lot of amazing content coming up, and I definitely wanted to also shout out Daniel Gomez. He had an amazing event, and he is a strong supporter of learning idiom and everything that we do. And so I'm very, very appreciative of his friendship and his mentorship. So definitely wanted to shout him out. Of course, Claudia Fountain, my co-host, wanted to shout her out. And, Johnny, Coach Lomac, wanted to extend my condolences also to the family of his friend that passed away because of gun violence. And so one of our next events that we're going to have is a fashion show with Sanicia Davis here in Little Rock, Arkansas. So definitely be on the lookout for that. And so again, this is Ice Left Deladon, aka Sachi Ice Queen, and we're talking with the Monarch of Fire. So stay tuned for his very first podcast episode. We're super, super excited, and you're not going to want to miss it. So take care, everyone. Love the people around you, and always remember that there's a purpose for your life and that God loves you. Bye.